Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and the blessing is due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, wa Malak Yahweh Shai. Secondly, this is Brother Yardan, WFI Detroit, coming back at you with yet another cold cut. Today in this cold cut, we will be speaking about time management. What is it, and how do you achieve this being in its truth? And we have to be honest, we have to be real. You know, in between family, work, and studying for yourself, and dealing with the brothers and sisters and whatever other responsibilities you may have, you know, you're going to get lost along the way. It's bound to happen. But that's why time management is so important. And when you come into this truth, you find yourself picking up more responsibilities, right? Such as fasting, prayer, reading, studying, performing alms, and doing the work. And these are things that you're not really accustomed to doing in a world, which is why coming into this truth is such a huge transition. It's something like no other. This is actually life changing. And like most things in life, when there's change, there's a difficult transition sometimes. For an example, a lot of brothers, they may have smoked weed in this world, right? When it came to this truth, it took some time to put it off. Some sisters must have put on the blonde wigs, blonde hair. You know, after a little bit of time, I mean, they put it all off. But nevertheless, you know, once you put it off, you become that better person. And it's going to get a little bit deeper because it's a lot of, it's a compilation of things, you understand? And you have to make sure you're doing it decently and in order, like the scripture says, right? Because some brothers, it's not just weed, it's 5 other things, it's 7 other things. And you have to really submit yourself unto the Lord if you really want to serve Him. So, you know, to go a little bit further, let's say you've came into this truth and you still want to be a doctor or a basketball player or perhaps a firefighter. Some jakes may want to become a cop. Certain things you have to actually do away with completely. Not all things, but most things, right? Why? Because certain things that you may want to do will conflict with the scriptures. They're going to clash. And you can only serve one God. You can't serve the God of football and the one true living God, the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You have to serve one or the other, or else you're, you know, you just lukewarm. So this is very deep. Abba Ratazah, Israel, make it edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And I have some precepts. I have some graphics for Israel, of course, the definitions. We're going to pull up the precepts on the screen as well. So again, Lord willing, by the end of this video, Israel may gain some type of wisdom, knowledge, and or understanding, and hopefully even feel encouraged to management their time a lot better. Because sometimes a lot of brothers, they just play the game all damn day. You know, I'm kicking off with this precept. This is Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. When you come into this truth, it's not your life anymore. It never was, but when you come into this truth, you acknowledge and you realize this is not your life. Hell, this isn't even your body. Nothing is yours. This phone, the laptop, the screen you're watching it on, nothing is yours. And once you realize that, that's a big step, right? To moving forward and serving the Lord in sincerity and in truth. This is Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man come after me, let him deny himself. And I'm going to pause real quick. And I'm also going to pull it up on the screen, as I said I would. Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. It reads this, I'll read it again. Then said Yahushua to his disciples, if any man come after me, let him deny himself. I'm going to pause because that comma's there, right? You have to deny yourself. What does that mean exactly? Kind of beat yourself up? Kind of just tell yourself you look dumb? You know, no, what this going into is this. When you come to serve the Lord, there may be certain things that you perhaps loved, but you got to put it away now. You have to deny the person that you were. For an example, if you really wanted to be a damn NBA player, brother, you're not going to do it. You can't do it because you're going to have to work Sabbaths. You're going to have to break the Sabbath, right? So you have to deny that version of yourself, right? That old man, I would say, as the scripture says. So again, as Yahweh said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me, right? The cross represents something, right? It's going to represent the trials and tribulations, the baptism by fire. That's what that represents. Because a cross is very heavy. In an ancient world, the cross weighed over about 30, 50 plus pounds, 100 plus pounds. So Yahushua is alluding that when you follow after me, there's going to be some things you're going to have to carry. And it's not going to be light. It's not light work. There's going to be a lot of heavy work. And you're going to have to deal with it. If you want to truly serve the Lord, it's going to take a lot of work. Like with anything else in this life. Verse 25, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Right? What does he mean by that? I'll give an example. Lot. It's Lot's wife, I'll say. Lot's wife looked back to the city of Sodom and Gomorrah because she wanted to save her life. And in turn, she ended up losing it. Because when you look back towards that old person, that old lifestyle, that old man and or woman, you miss it. You longing for it. And if you look back, it's 9 times out of 10, you're going to reach back. And when you reach back, you're going to grab and take hold of it. All right? And when you look back to the world, that means you're turning your back from the Lord. And that's disrespectful. So, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. And if you lose your life, just toss it to the side, just throw it away, put it in the trash can. You're going to find your new life and Yahweh Shema Shai, and ultimately the kingdom as well. So let's get another precept. This is Ephesians chapter 3, verse 1. Let me pull it up here. Keep forgetting. And a lot of Jakes, as I said in the beginning of the video, you may want to become a cop, a doctor, a lawyer. I mean, certain things in this life, what they provide, it clashes. It's going to headbutt with the scriptures. Meaning what? You can't do it. And if you do whatever you wanted to do, you're not going to really serve the Lord. And it may sound rude or mean. It may sound sucky. I mean, so what? It is what it is. And the loves of this world, that shouldn't be anywhere in your mind. Because if you love the Lord more and chiefly above all things, he's going to provide for you. So I was going to get Ephesians chapter 3, verse 1. It's like your 4 and 1. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. Right? The Lord called you to this thing. Right? This is your real vocation now. This is your true vocation. And maybe you don't know what vocation is. Let's pull it up. Define vocation. A strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or options. Not all of us have a vocation being nurses or doctors, and that's a spirit, right? That you may have thought that was your vocation, but when you came to the truth, I mean that's no longer your vocation. That's no longer your calling. Your calling is to serve Yahweh Bashmi Hawashai, right? And then everything that follows afterwards, Lord willing, it'll fall in line. That's not to say, we've seen it sometimes here and there. That's of the Most High. You may have had a nurse in the truth, and they don't work the Sabbaths. That's mighty. All praises, right? But then we've heard other cases where it's just they wasn't that fortunate. But that's okay because the Lord didn't want them to do that. And that's something you have to remember being in this truth. Not everything is going to be the way that you're going to want it to. The Lord's going to have a specific calling for you. And whatever you decide to do, or whatever you have in mind, you have to manage it accordingly. Because again, that's the whole title of this video, time management. So let's bring out some accounts. Let's bring out some precepts. Let's start with Acts 17 and 11. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. Right? I pulled out this precept because when you come into this truth, you have to focus on yourself, right? Not in a selfish way or idolatry way, but focusing yourself in terms of looking at the person in the mirror. Because there's certain things and habits that you come into the truth with from the world. And that may be anger, that may be jealousy, that may be gluttony, that may be idolatry. There's no telling. But just know this, you have to let it go. You have to put that old man behind, right? And not everything's going to be overnight. So that means you have to work on yourself. And for you to work on yourself, you have to take time to yourself. Now, I'm not saying quit your job and go be a damn monk, right? Go live in the damn woods and be a forager and a damn vagabond. But more so, there's going to be moments in life and in a week where you have to just take 30 minutes to yourself. Seclude yourself from afar, from everybody else for 10, 15 minutes. Meditate upon the precepts. Find out if you've been hitting your marks this week, for lack of better words. So let's bring out some accounts of this being done. We'll get Genesis is down here, all praises. Genesis 24 and 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field. And it's like at eventide, he lifted up his eyes and saw, behold, the camels were coming. But nevertheless, we find that Isaac was meditating in the field. Now, he wasn't meditating like a monk or a Buddhist. And he was meditating, thus saith the Lord. And that's mighty. He was meditating upon the precepts, the commandments. He was meditating upon this, how the Lord watched over him, what he may need to do better being in his truth. He took time to himself, right, to examine himself, which is beautiful in the eyes of the Lord. That's what the Lord wants to see, because that shows that you're being sincere, that you're making an effort. That's 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter and 15th verse. Isaac was examining himself, and you should do the same. Second Corinthians, Salakia. Second Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. Because I can ask for counsel and advice all day, and they can give me counsel and advice, whether it be friends and or family. But it's up to me at the end of the day, you know, if for those who have an ear, let them hear. It's up to me at the end of the day whether I'm going to fully take heed to certain words and actually apply that change, right? Through the wisdom of counsel that I received. So again, that's why it says, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Mashiach is in you, except, meaning unless you be reprobate. Right? So again, being in this truth, you have to manage time, put it aside. It's like you put yourself aside and make sure you're doing what you need to do for the Most High. Have I been fasting enough? Have I been reading enough? Have I been studying enough? And however you're going to organize it within your calendar, structure, layout, however you do it, make sure it's done decently in order, and make sure it's consistent and steady to the best of its ability. Right? Whether that be studying for 10 minutes in the morning, reading for 30 minutes in the afternoon, right? Setting 10 alarms that you're supposed to pray throughout the day. Whatever tools you can find in your toolbox to help build yourself up, utilize it. I mean, that's why the Most High, as the elder said, that's why the Most High made technology. One of the reasons, so one that His name can be magnified throughout the land, and also, you have a lot of tools in there that can help benefit your life. For an example, I use everybody has it on their phone like a little calendar app, and whatever events I may have approaching or in the far future, hey, I'm gonna jot it down. I'm gonna write that thing down because I'll forget. I'm just a mortal man. We forget stuff. So with that, I digress because I want to move on to the next two precepts, which is Luke and First Thessalonians. Luke 5:16, real quick. Luke chapter 5, verse 16. This is Yahushua, mind you. And he withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed. So even Yahushua had good time management. He withdrew himself from the wilderness and prayed. Isaac withdrew himself from the family and work so he can meditate. Stop saying, I got to get the grind 24/7. That's what they say in this world. I'm grinding 24/7, no sleep. Brother, you're going to destroy yourself. Because like it says in Sirach, watching for riches is going to destroy the soul. Loosely paraphrasing. Let's get another one. First Thessalonians 4:11. This is First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11. And they gave study to be quiet and do your own business and to work with your own hands as we commanded you. We even see this in a letter to the church in Thessalonica written by Paul, that Israel ought to study to be quiet. So when you read that, you should righteously extrapolate that you have to take time for yourself so you can better yourself for the Lord. It's all for Yahweh, but Hashem Yahushua at the end of the day. So those are some mighty accounts and examples of people taking time to work on themselves and examine themselves. Let's get one more. Let me pull that up. This is Proverbs. This will be the last one I pull for this topic. Proverbs 27:19. I like this verse. As in water, face answers to face, so the heart of man to man. Same way you can see your face in a reflection. You see your blotch, your blemish, your cuts, your hair growing, whatever. You see yourself clear as day when you look in the mirror, right? So you should see yourself the exact same way when you examine your heart. Whatever your heart looks like, that's how you are. So that's working on yourself. Again, it has to be a balance. The Lord said in Proverbs 11:1, an unjust balance is an abomination. So if your life is unbalanced, and that's abominable in the eyes of the Lord. Even the heavens aren't clean in his sight, as he says in Job. So if your life is unbalanced, how much more unclean is that to the Heavenly Father? The Lord is about structure and order. That's said in Luke the second, it's like in Luke the second chapter. Yahushua said, I'm about my Father's business, meaning it's done decently and in order. You think the Lord is kind of losing track of the angels? One angel called off of work, he forgot, and another angel clocked in late, and another angel didn't perform that one duty. And he kind of forgot to judge somebody, and he's running late for this, and he forgot what time they got to come back to Earth. The Lord is not. Hey, the Lord's time management is on point. It's always on 10. All right. So we're made in the image of the Lord. So it's only right that our life is done decently in order. to the best of our ability. So again, that's self, as I titled. That's working on yourself through the spirit. And then you have actual work, right? You actually have to do work on this earth. And you shouldn't give all your time to it as well. Because again, if you give all your time to it, you're gonna be worshiping it. Some Jake pull up extra hours or pull extra hours for work and you don't need it. Brother, you get paid $40 an hour. Why are you working more hours? You don't need all you don't need all that money, brother. You know? Yeah, and we'll say that. You don't need it all, brother. Because the more hours you give to Esau, the less it is for the Lord. The more hours you give to Esau, is less hours that you give to the Lord. So let's get that in Acts 18. Let's find out some occupations. Now there's over dozens of occupations found in the scriptures, a lot of which is found in Sirach, the 39th chapter, 38th chapter. But we're just gonna get a few for edification's sake. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all the Jews from Rome and came unto them. So to depart from Rome and came unto them. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them. Who is that he? That he is Paul, right? And who is he have the same craft as? As Aquila. What is a craft? Making things by hand and wrought. For by their occupation they were tent makers. So the Lord is dealing with brothers working and being occupied. Right now, you have to stay occupied in the scriptures, of course, but again, you have to have a just balance. You can't be solely occupied in the scriptures and then not work. Because what happens if you don't work? Well, let's just say in 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10, or rather 1 Timothy 5 and 8, which ties into working or ties into family. So here it is. This is what happens when you don't work. 1 Timothy 5 and 8. But if any provide not for his own, especially of those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So don't think Isaac was just in the field all day, just meditating day and night, 24/7. And his wife saying, pray with me. And he said, no, I got to meditate. I got to work on myself too. That's off. You have to provide for your family as well, whether that be spiritually and or physically. And in this case, physically, right? Because you have to work in this captivity. You're in slavery. If you didn't remember, or if you forgot, this is captivity. So let's bring out another precept in 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. Hey, that's plain. That don't need a 10-hour, 10-minute breakdown. If you don't work, you don't eat. It is what it is. Genesis 29 and 20. Genesis chapter 29, verse 20. Let's see what this says. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had had to her. Right? So Jacob worked 7 years. He was working. And don't think he just blew that money on folly. I mean, he saved that money obviously for his family, for Rachel. So A lot of things that we're bringing out for work ties into family, right? But just on another level, in a sense, because family, you have to actually read to them. Yeah, you can bring home money. Yeah, you have to examine yourself, but upon examining yourself, you gain knowledge and wisdom and patience, Lord willing, to actually provide for your family on a spiritual level. Because some of your family, they may be a little slower spirit, right? Through that meditation, you have the ability to endure and be patient and exercise kindness and the fruits of the spirits, right? And through working, right, you don't, you obviously can feed them. You don't have to stress and worry about working more hours than needed, provided you have a decent job in this captivity. But nevertheless, providing for your family on a physical and spiritual level is absolutely needed. We already put that in 1 Timothy 5:8. It was Genesis 21:8. Let's see. Here we go. And the child grew. Uh, I'll start at 7. I'll start at 5. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. So Abraham made a feast for his son Isaac, which is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with going to the park with your kids. There's nothing wrong. You can't be that over righteous brew to not have a family get together and go to a park. Lay out a little blanket, get the basket, kind of eat some fruit, some desserts, laugh, do a puzzle, fly some kites. The Lord said in Sirach, defraud not thyself with a good day. The Lord said, don't defraud yourself with a good day. If you do, you don't want to have that woe is me spirit. You understand? It's like you, and even on another level, you got to watch over your children as well. That's Sirach. That's a lot of verses in Sirach. 22 and 24. It speaks of raising up an evil nurtured son and watching over a daughter in Sirach 42. So this is Sirach 24. Maybe 22. 22 and 3. An evil nurtured son is the dishonor of his father that begat him, and a foolish daughter is born to his loss. And when you work so much, or be a nigga and just take too much time for yourself, you're not going to have an opportunity to watch over your family and your household. So I'm going to keep saying it all throughout the video. It has to be a just balance. Let's get another one in Sirach 42. 42 and 9. The father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. Because you got to keep an eye on your daughter, especially in this world. This world is wicked, it's folly, it's full of the snares and traps. So with that in mind, and yeah, I mean it's plain. You're gonna lose some sleep just to kind of observe your children, and especially your daughter. When she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be hated. Right? In her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house. See, being with niggas and having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself And when she is married, lest she should be barren. You gotta watch over your children. That's for sure. If you don't, all hell's gonna break loose. We seen what happened with David and his children, some of his children. We seen what, on the contrary, we seen what happened with Abraham and his children. So you see a lot of examples and accounts in the scriptures on what to do and what not to do from our forefathers. So again, this is time management. It speaks about family, working on yourself, and work. Right. So our Ratazah, Israel's been edified and hopefully exhorted through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai Salakia. So with that, I'm a bid Israel Shalom.